The doctrine of ultra vires is one of the most ingenious innovations in the legal space. That doctrine works in the private sector, how we go running our registered entities, as it does in the public sector with the men and women vested with state power. There is something interesting that happens when an ordinary man or woman is vested with state power. Power, like they would say, corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The doctrine of ultra vires seeks to protect the governed from the governing. In us assessing whether a public official acted within the bounds of the written law, we ask ourselves a few questions. 1. Did the public official, to begin with, have that power to do? If the public official did not have that power to do, then whatsoever they did, whatsoever they purported to have done, becomes a nullity, becomes void, and it is quashed. Where there are interesting conversations is in the second question. If the public official had the power, then we ask ourselves, did the public official restrain themselves on the four corners of the written law? This is where we need two other questions to help us understand whether that public official restrained themselves on the four corners of the written law. 1. Was it a matter of jurisdiction? There are things that are jurisdictional on an individual, and whatsoever that individual does, what qualifies what they did was it jurisdictional or was it not jurisdictional? Even in jurisdictional questions, there are things that are beyond your jurisdiction. That is very important. The other important question that helps us to understand is, was it merely a question of fact? Questions of fact do not give us the ability to question the conduct of a public official, because questions of fact is how, or the facts surrounding the decision making, the facts surrounding the conduct of this public official. Facts are not necessarily checked on jurisdictional matter. The other important question that we need to ask ourselves is 1. If that power vested on that individual, was it discretionary? If power is discretionary, then the duty to act is left on my good judgment. That is where now the good judgment of the public official will actually carry the day. It is very important that whenever we are assessing public, or we are assessing excesses in the public space, we need to familiarize ourselves with those questions, because power must be transmitted. Power is not held in abeyance. Power must be transactional. Power must be performed. If the power to act rests, then the power not to act is taken away from the state official. When power to do something rests on you, the power not to do is denied from you, because power does not hold in vacuum. Power must be actioned. Power must be acted upon. One of the most important things that I would want you to remember from today, the doctrine of ultra vires on its face value comes from two interesting words. Ultra meaning excess, and vires meaning power. This doctrine is how we regulate the mechanisms we put in place in our statutes to regulate how this power is acted upon, how decisions arrived at, and this pendulum constantly swings. This pendulum constantly swings. And one of the most important things that will help us as the governed is to become aware to become vigilant, so that at all times we can ask ourselves this: in exercising this power, in exercising the mandate, in exercising the authority, did the public official conduct themselves within the four corners of what is written? That, my friend, is the greatest duty of any individual who is a citizen of any state. The power to check power when that power is being acted upon in your best interest. Now that is useful information.